My neighbor's husband left today, and it turned into a full-on daytime soap opera. At first, I thought someone left their TV too loud, but then I realized the yelling was real, and it was coming from outside. I peeked out my front window and saw my neighbor standing on the porch barefoot, in her pajama pants and a tank top, screaming at her husband. He was dragging a giant suitcase to his car and completely ignoring her. She was yelling things like, "So you're just gonna walk out after everything? Be a man for once and say it to my face. You'll regret this when she leaves you too." Yes, she. Not even 10 minutes after the husband sped off, and I mean sped off, tires screeched, another car pulls up. Out steps her sister, dressed like she just came from a casting for brunch in Beverly Hills. I'm not even kidding, my jaw dropped. The neighbor storms off the porch and yells, "Of course you show up now." The sister fires right back. He needed someone who listens to him for once. Y'all, I choked on my iced coffee. They start going at it, yelling, finger pointing. My neighbor even pushes the sister's shoulder at one point. I had one foot out the door, ready to break it up if it got physical. I'm texting my husband, trying to keep him updated on what's going on. And in the middle of all this, the neighbor screams at her, "He was my husband, and you were supposed to be my sister." The sister responds in the calmest way after all the yelling, "He told me you would do this." Then she straight up gets in the car and leaves. I think my neighbor is just too shocked to do anything. She kind of just watches her in shock, also calming down from the yelling. I'm thinking everything is starting to kick in. After her sister left, she just stood on the porch for a solid 5 minutes, then just went back inside. I'm thinking it's over, and that was enough excitement for one day. Nope. Half an hour later, I hear glass clinking loudly out of my office window. I look past our side yard and onto her side of the fence. I'm upstairs so I can see pretty much everything. She's outside again, thus time tossing empty wine bottles into her trash one by one. She's doing this slowly and dramatically as if she wanted someone to hear. She finally sat down on the curb and lit a cigarette. First time I've ever seen her smoke. My cat and I just sat in the window watching like it was a season finale. No one's been back to the house. Her husband's car is still gone. Her sister hasn't returned. She, my neighbor, closed all the blinds, and it's been silent ever since. I don't know if I just witnessed a cheating scandal, a sister betrayal, a midlife crisis, or all three at once. But I do know I'm making popcorn tomorrow in case there's a part 2.
I sent flowers to the wrong apartment. She showed up at my door 3 days later and changed everything. So on Valentine's Day, I ordered flowers for this girl I'd been kind of seeing. Nothing super serious, but I thought it'd be a nice gesture, just something small. I was in a rush and typed her address too fast. Didn't even notice I mixed up 2 numbers in her apartment, hit place order and went on with my day. Got the delivery confirmation a couple hours later, but no text, no thank you, no these are beautiful nothing. Just silence. Next day, still nothing. By day 3, I figured, all right, cool, guess that's over. Kinda sucked, but whatever. Then someone knocked on my door. This woman standing there with the flowers in her hands. I didn't recognize her at first. She goes, "Hey, these showed up at my place. I almost threw them out, but they were too pretty. Figured I'd try to get them to the right person." I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Those were for someone who didn't really answer. She smiled and said, "They're lost." And then, before leaving, she kinda laughed and said, "You've got good taste, though. If you ever need help picking out flowers again, I'm right down the hall." I stood there like an idiot holding these now very awkward flowers thinking, did that just happen? Next day I sent her a new bouquet. Just some simple yellow tulips with a note that said, "Thought you deserved your own." That afternoon she slid a sticky note under my door. It said, "Do you send flowers to all your neighbors or was I just lucky?" We ended up grabbing coffee that weekend. Talked for like 2.5 hours without even realizing it. Then we did it again and again. Now it's almost a year later. We're still together. She still teases me about not knowing how to type an address. I still get her tulips every once in a while, especially when I have no idea what else to do. Funny how one wrong number turned out to be the right one. I bagged my high school crush 10 years later. So, there is this girl I went to high school with, and pretty much always had a crush on since I was 15. Had one class with her, but never really interacted with her or tried to pursue her. At some point towards the end of high school, we became mutuals on social media. Again, not much came of it besides trading a like or two. Fast forward many years and I am fresh out of a long-term relationship of 4+ years. I started going out to the local bars and nightclubs pretty often to have fun, maybe meet some new people. Now, one of these many nights I see this girl that I'll call 5 to keep it anonymous, LOL. So, I had not saw V in person in at least 7 years, man. Was I surprised at how good she looked. She was a smoke show. I immediately turn over to my friend to debrief him on the situation. He is familiar with 5 as they had mutual friends in high school. I was so caught off guard I couldn't muster up the courage to hit 5 up at the bar. So we continue the night and walk down to a nightclub a block down and keep partying the night away. Next thing I know, 5 is walking into the club with her friends. I told my friend I have got to hit her up, now is my chance. So I approached her, told her we graduated the same class from our high school, blah blah blah, made some small talk, asked about her night so far. Complimented her and she complimented me back. I was definitely intoxicated but not sloppy or anything. The quick conversation goes well and I asked for her number. She hesitated for a second, which felt like an eternity. But she did give it to me. I figured giving your number out as a woman nowadays is sketchy, I guess. Most chicks just give their socials, but we already follow each other. We said bye and whatnot and kept on with the night. I was content with how it went and stayed at the club for a while without talking with her again. Ended up having a few more drinks and Ubering back home shortly after that. Now that I had her number, I started to overthink everything a bit. In my head, 5 was a really good prospect. Pretty much my type 100%, educated, beautiful smile, and a good career. I was kind of dating around again to get back in the scene at the time. Not really taking things too serious with anyone, so I never ended up texting her to reconnect. After some months went by, I thought that it would be weird to text her now after so much time passed since getting her number. Fast forward to now present day 7 months later, and am back out at the same bar. The first thing that catches my eye as I walk in is V. There she is again with a small group of her girlfriends. For context, it's a pretty small bar, so it's easy to spot out anybody. I immediately got nervous and my friend is like, dude, come on, you have to go say hi at least. At that point, I am a little cross-faded and in my head again. I pushed it off and off for maybe 2 hours. I'm almost positive she sees me in there because my friend kept saying, bro, she is looking over here. I went outside for a smoke at the bar patio and eventually I see her leave the bar. At least I thought that. I was convinced I fumbled my redemption round this time. My friend is looking at me like bro lock TFN. I figured 5 was heading to the nearby club for the rest of the night and I didn't plan on staying out much longer. I finish my drink and tell my friend, let's just call it a night and Uber back home. I shit you not, as we are leaving the bar we see V getting back in line at the same bar she just left. I look to my friend like, bro, this is a double or nothing situation. I can't go home without this redemption. Finally, after about 5 minutes of hyping myself up, I go hit her up. I told her how I had got her number a while back at the club and never followed through. She asked if I remembered her name, and she also mentioned how we are mutuals on social media. We shared some good small talk. I told her how good she looked that night and how I'd love to take her out sometime. I bought her a drink, but I didn't grab one myself because I was pretty buzzed, which I hope didn't look weird. Eventually, one of her friends kind of nudged her to come back with their group, so I just let her know it's cool if she has to get back with them. We hugged and said goodbye. I told her I already have your number, so I'll hit you up to hang out. Now, I am going to message her later today, hopefully talk a bit and plan a nice date. That's my very long story of how I bagged my high school crush 10 years later. Is update? She replied to my text, said it was nice seeing me again and free hangout on the weekends. I accidentally told my boss's kid Santa wasn't real, and it turned into the weirdest promotion of my life. So, this happened last December, and it still feels like a fever dream. I 26 millions work in a mid-sized marketing firm. I'm lowish on the ladder. Not an intern, but definitely not a corner office guy. Around the holidays, the company throws this super fancy Christmas party at the CEO's house. He's very into family culture, so we all show up with spouses, kids, dogs, emotional baggage, etc. Now, I don't have kids. I barely have matching socks most days. But I love Christmas, and I'm decent with kids. So when my boss, let's call him Mike, asked me to help watch over the kid area while the adults got wine drunk on spiced Cabernet, I was like, sure, free cookies and no small talk about quarterly reports? Count me in. I'm helping a group of kids decorate sugar cookies when this little boy, maybe 6 or 7, looks up at me and goes, "Do you think Santa's really real?" I didn't even think, not for a second. I said, "Nah, but it's fun to pretend, right?" Just like that. Friendly tone, dumb grin, sprinkle-covered fingers. This kid's face drops like I told him his goldfish died again. Full-on trembling lip. I immediately realize I have made a terrible career-altering mistake. Guess who the kid was? Mike's son. Of course, 10 minutes later, I'm summoned, not by HR, not by my manager, by Mike himself. I'm picturing my career in flames, me jobless in January, selling feet pics to pay rent. But instead, he sits me down, deadpan serious, and says, "You told my son the truth. Nobody in this company tells the truth. They all smile and nod and fake believe in Santa. You just blurt it out. You don't overthink." I like that. I'm sitting there, stunned. He continues, "I need someone like that on the innovation team. We're pitching bold ideas this year. No BS. Long story short, I got promoted, literally because I ruined a kid's Christmas." Mike later told me his son was already suspicious, and I just accelerated the timeline. His wife was apparently furious for a week. Now I'm on a team I never thought I'd be on because I killed Santa. Every time I walk into a meeting, my coworkers whisper St. Nick's Slayer under their breath. Anyway, that's the story of how I accidentally grinched my way up the corporate ladder. Life's weird. I ended up in my neighbor's will. A few months ago, I moved into a new apartment building. First time living alone. First time realizing I have no idea how to cook rice without Googling it. Anyway, my neighbor across the hall is an older lady named Mrs. Kaplan. She's like 80-something, walks with a cane that has a tiny built-in flashlight, respect, and wears a robe with embroidered cats on it. Big grandma energy. One day, I helped her carry her groceries up the stairs because the elevator was broken. She gave me a butterscotch candy and said, "You're a good boy, just like my grandson." I thought she was being sweet and nostalgic. Nope. She started calling me Ben. My name is not Ben. But every time I corrected her, she just squinted at me and went, "Don't be difficult, Ben." So I gave up. I became Ben. She'd knock on my door with Tupperware full of mysterious casseroles and say things like, "Eat this, you're too skinny." Ben was too skinny too. Poor thing. I figured, hey, free food. Who am I to argue? Fast forward, one day she invites me to a family dinner. I assume it's just her and maybe a cat. Nope. I walk in, and half her actual family is there. They stare at me like, who is this guy? And she proudly announces, "Everyone, this is Ben. He's back from Tokyo." Now I'm locked into this insane role play where I apparently lived in Tokyo, work in tech, and still play the trumpet. I haven't touched a trumpet since middle school band, but I nod and smile like I'm auditioning for a Netflix series. Here's the twist, she knows. She later pulled me aside and said, "I know you're not Ben, but I like having you around." Last week she called me over to help fix her TV and offhandedly mentioned, "You'll take the cat figurines when I'm gone, right? I already put it in the will." So now, I'm inheriting cat figurines. Because I became someone else's grandson by accident. And honestly, I think Ben would have wanted it that way.